Hello and welcome to the video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at this thing here. This is one of the latest cameras from SJCAM. This is called the 360 Plus Panoramic camera. Now for those of you that have been watching the channel for a while, you'll have seen me look at an earlier version of this which was called the SJ360 rather than the XJ360 Plus. Now the whole point of me getting that original SJ360 is what I really want to do is to pop a camera onto the back of a plane and to be able to scroll around the aerial footage with a mouse so that I can look over the wings of the plane, over the tail and other bits and pieces. Now in that original test the challenge was that it only had a lens on one side, so I stuck it on top of a Bixler plane, took it up, and it kind of worked, but ultimately I was left a little bit frustrated because for what I was trying to use it for, it wasn't perfect. Now the SJ360 Plus, you'll notice, is a little bit different. Form factor's completely changed from that kind of eyeball design, and it's now got lenses on each side. And this camera actually records two images, one from the back camera and one from the front camera, and puts them in the same frame, and then you can use some software to create the panoramic video that you can use like a VR video, and then you can pop that onto places like Facebook and YouTube, and those guys have inbuilt technology that allows you to then just click and roll around the image. So in this video what I want to do is to quickly talk about the camera a little bit, talk about the specs and go through those bits and pieces, but ultimately I imagine you're the same as me. You just want to see, what's the video like, does it work? We'll go through the unboxing, I'll show you what comes in this box when you get everything, because they have thought about it. These lenses are stuck out quite a way, they have to be able to get the super wide field of view so it can be stitched together into a complete dome of video. So we do need something to carry it in so those don't get scratched. Then I'll talk about the setup and use. I'll show you some sample footage that I've done just walking up to and by the side of the canal, and kind of give you an idea of what the raw footage looks like, how you convert it, and then how you get it up onto something like YouTube. So the first thing we'll talk about is the specs. So this thing with the battery in, the way the battery fits in is quite cute. You have to take this thing off at the back. There we go. And the battery is removable, which is nice. A lot of these action cameras these days don't have removable batteries, which really bug me. So if you get a second one of these, then you can fly for longer. That's where the SD card sits. You don't have to worry about taking the SD card out to read it. If you just plug it into the computer, it charges via the USB cable, and when it's plugged into the computer, you get a little USB symbol on the display and just appears on your PC as another drive, and you can drag and drop the files around. So that's very nicely done. You can turn Wi-Fi on and connect it with the SJ app and do all those extra things that you'd expect from an SJCAM action camera. When you power it up, you hold the power button at the side for 3 seconds and then it'll fire up. You get the little action button lights up, that lovely purpley colour. It'll tell you it's an SJ360 Plus, and then you are ready to shoot. It's that quick. So hopefully on the screen, my camera's going to read that, there we go. It says we are going to capture video in 1920 by 960, and on the card that I've got in here, it's about 29.5 gigabytes left. Now for a 3-minute video at that kind of resolution, I'm getting about 169, 170 megabytes worth of file, so just be aware of that. By pressing the power button at the side, we can go into photo mode, and we can also turn Wi-Fi on and off, going to the settings as well. So we can see here, we can set the video resolution. So the biggest resolution we have on this thing is 1920 by 960, which is what I'm using for the demo. Then you can go lower if you really want to. Then we have the ability for loop recording. By default, this one came as loop recording of 3 minutes. I'd turn it off for the kind of things that I'm doing, because I might be flying around for 15-20 minutes on a plane and I want it to stop recording if the memory card gets full or the battery gives up, rather than just have lots and lots of 3-minute videos that then I've got to play with afterwards. Then we've got record audio, the photo resolution settings. Again, it goes from 5 megapixels, which is what I'm on now, to 2 megapixels. And then we have whether or not keytones, auto sleep, format the card, reset the camera. So it's relatively straightforward to use, because to record, all I do is I just press that button and it's now recording. It's that simple and straightforward. The battery inside is about 1700 milliampere hours, so you're going to get a reasonable amount of time, kind of a couple of hours, but the fact that that battery is replaceable hopefully is going to mean that you can use it for a little bit longer. So let me very quickly explain what comes in the box. So the box itself, on the top part you have the camera, and you also have this piece that comes with it that screws into the bottom. The bottom has a standard 1/4 inch threaded nut so that you can actually mount it onto a camera. You can either have it set as a tripod so you can pop it somewhere and it can record whatever you're doing as you're mooching about, or you can snap the legs together and it's a very handy grip. And I was actually carrying it with this bit facing forward and this bit facing towards me, kind of above head height for the demo video, and that's how I used it, and it worked really well. Underneath those two things in the packaging, then you have some other bits and pieces like a cleaning cloth for the lenses. You have a soft bag to carry it in, which again is a very good idea because these lenses are unprotected. You have the USB cable that you need, and you also have the manual as well. Now, I've already talked about how you set up and record stuff, so here is the basic footage as it was recorded as I walked around. This is a 3-minute video because, again, in the early days when I was testing this out, the camera was cutting all of my footage into 3-minute chunks. And you can hopefully see here how these two spheres of image. So what's happening here, we're getting a lot of distortion around the edge that we need to take care of in software after the fact. Now, when you access the SD card inside the camera for the first time, you'll notice that the camera has put a little link onto the root directory of the SD card. If you open that link, then it will allow you to download the software to edit the video in both Windows and Mac format. And on the website at the bottom of the listing, there's also QR codes for iOS and Android as well. So irrespective of what your platform is, you should be able to get hold of that footage and edit it up. And this is what the application looks like on a PC when you've installed it. What you need to do is go and open the footage using the little film icon in the bottom left-hand corner. Then it appears in the image. There are a very limited set of options here, but what this software is doing is taking those two very distorted images from the front and back lens and compositing those into one image that you can use in standard 360 VR viewers. The only thing you might have to play with, depending on how you had the camera mounted, is whether you're going to select the top, bottom, left or right option. I selected the top, and even though I wasn't holding the camera that way, it did work really well. So just be prepared to have a go at that. If you encode it with the wrong one of those options set, it will default to look in the wrong direction around this virtual 360 by 360 bubble that is captured. Once you've got that done, you can then output the file. It isn't a particularly fast program. This program doesn't appear to be accessing any of the high-end graphical processors that are in the machine that I'm using here, so you're going to have to kind of kick this off and go make yourself a cup of coffee because it will very laboriously clunk through the footage. So give it 20 minutes, half an hour, depending on how long your footage is, come back and it'll be ready. Then you can just upload it to YouTube as you would normally, and YouTube will figure out exactly how it works. We'll figure out it's a 360-degree video, and when it starts playing, it will give you the ability to roll around the image with your mouse or use the controls in the top left-hand corner to navigate the image. Similarly, you can use the viewer application that you downloaded to also view the file back if you don't want to upload it and make it public. But the really cool thing about this is, finally, this is a camera that we could use to mount in the top of a vehicle, and as we are capturing footage, rather than have a static view over the nose of the plane or whatever it is that we're doing, we don't have to rely on having gimbals to look around. We can download the footage after the fact and then virtually pan around the vehicle and look behind ourselves, left, right, up and down, and do all those things in software, which is what I've been after for ages. So at the moment I'm looking for a radio controlled plane in the fleet that's going to have space to put this camera on, because definitely this thing has been designed for more of the action camera, sports, experience style recording. So maybe walking through the woods or at an event, or maybe filming a big firework display and you want to look around, this could be quite handy. The video quality is quite nice, but But remember, the entire 360 by 360 view is captured in a single 1920 by 960 frame. So it isn't complete HD quality, but that's the price you're paying here, I guess, for the ability to be able to scroll around the image. And I'm also spending a bit of time at the moment trying to design a little support so the camera can slot into it on the back of a plane. And it's going to have to be something reasonably big, something like a Tundra potentially, or something like a Bushmule would probably be a good idea for this. But we're going to have to mount it so it's not too proud out the top of the plane, because we don't want all of the extra turbulence, but we want it far enough above, because as you saw from the demo, you can pan around and you can look down a little bit, and having it too close to the top of the plane will mean that all I'm going to get is essentially the top hemisphere. The bottom is going to be just looking at the foam of the RC plane itself. So I'm going to continue to play with this. I am very impressed. It's about 105 quid from the standard places, so if you search online you'll be able to find it. This is finally the kind of thing that I've been after for ages. Rather than me have to just have a static view, I can download the video and him and I can look around and look over the different wings as I'm flying and soaring around, and it'll bring a completely new aspect to watching those playback videos after a day's flying. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video, and particularly for watching right to the very end. We try and release a video on Tuesday and Friday, and sometimes we'll release 1 or 2 extra ones in a week as well. All of the videos on the channel are organised into easy to use playlists, so do have a look in there, because if you're interested in a subject, we organise all the videos on that subject so you can find them easily all together in one place. If you like what we're doing, then please like and subscribe and tell others about the channel so they can come and join as well. We're available in all of the usual social media places, particularly in places like Instagram, Twitter, and we also share all of our 3D designs on Thingiverse.